Welcome back to the Zachary Brown broadcast. It has been a solid week, literally 7 days since I've last posted on the Zachary Brown broadcast, and I have made an executive decision as the sole producer and the sole worker of the Zachary Brown broadcast to limit this broadcast to a week because so much happened between last week and this week that first I recorded an episode of the broadcast on Saturday, and I was going to release that because my boy Marcus got pulled. We're going to get on that later. And then a bunch of big news happened, and so then that broadcast became irrelevant, and then I recorded a different broadcast, and then that file went corrupt. So I'm going to limit the broadcast to one a week, probably on Wednesday, maybe Tuesday. That allows us to get through the news, through the race recaps, anything that may happen, like after the race, like stewarding decisions and such. And we have a lot of breaking news, all right? Let's start with the Formula One side of things. So, we'll start with the Formula One PF Chang's Grand Prix, which took place at China this Sunday. And there's a lot of big news surrounding it. A lot of people aren't happy with the regulations. I don't really know how I feel about these regulations. On the one hand, it feels artificial, like the overtaking. But on the other hand, Ferrari's doing well. And that's a sentence I haven't said in a really long time. So we officially have a conflict of interest in the Zachary Brown broadcast, and therefore I will not discuss it. What I will discuss are the oil money Grand Prix, or more like with the news, the lack of oil money Grand Prix. Because the Bahrain and Saudi Arabian Grand Prix will not take place during the month of April. I have the press release pulled up from Formula One right now. Let me read it. Blah, 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 blah. Formula 2, Formula 3, and F1 Academy rounds will also not take place during their scheduled times. I was expecting that. Stefano Domenicali, president and CEO of Formula One, said, "While this is a difficult decision to take, it is unfortunately the right one at this stage considering the current situation in the Middle East. I want to take this opportunity to thank the FIA as well as our incredible promoters, blah, 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 blah. We cannot wait to be back with them as soon as the circumstances allow us to." Mohammed Ben Sulayem of the FIA said something, but honestly, I really don't care about his opinion. So the big question right now is that there wasn't a lot of rumor or I guess not rumors, but like a lot of second guessing on whether there weren't people arguing whether or not the Grand Prix would take place. It was kind of decided universally that it wouldn't, and we were just kind of waiting for the announcement. I think Isaac Hadjar was actually on a plane with Kimi Antonelli. We'll get to him later, trust me. And someone was recording them, and then Hadjar basically said, well, that's 2 less Grand Prix for you to win, or that's 2 less races for you to win. I don't remember what he said. But, yeah, so that's what he said. And I saw that, and that was my first, well, I guess that basically kind of, solidified that, hey, we're not going to be racing in the Middle East because Iran and Israel and the U.S. government and everybody else involved in this is not doing very, well. We're not doing very good at this whole thing. And obviously this whole thing is a lot bigger than just the races. I think in the previous broadcast I said that the World Endurance Championship moved their opening round to Imola in April. And they would not be racing the 1812 of Qatar. And like I said during that, there's a lot bigger things like the loss of human life and stuff. But this is my schizo broadcast about racing, all right? This is not a schizo broadcast about the current state of the world. I already have one of those in the oven. I'm baking one up right now. Anyway, following that announcement, we went to the P.F. Chang's Grand Prix. Immediately before the race started, we already had drama. Alexander Albon in the Williams, Gabriel Bortoleto in the Audi, and the two McLarens, that is right, both McLarens, did not start the race. I don't know what was wrong with Albon or Bortoleto's car, but I know that the McLarens were battling electrical issues, so that would be what I'm guessing with the what happened to Albon and Bortoleto. And it wasn't just one issue that was on the same car. It was two separate issues. So this is the second Grand Prix. So Oscar Piastri is currently 2 for 2 in not starting races, which is an insane stat to think of. Well, another insane stat to think of is that the Aston Martin, the Aston Martin that I shit on all the time. I'm not going to call it the Aston Martin. We're calling it the ass shit fartin from now on, all right? The ass shit fartin has more time on track in Grand Prix sessions than the McLarens do, which honestly is crazy. That is something I thought I would never say after hearing that the drivers would get nerve damage. The start was pretty crazy. Lewis Hamilton just sent it down the inside because he's in the Ferrari and they have really good starts. Ollie Behrman needed a change of clothes after because Isaac Hadjar spun right in front of him and nearly collected Ollie with him. And so if I was Ollie Behrman, he did a really good job not smashing into the side of Hadjar, by the way. But yeah, some poo definitely shot out of Ollie Behrman there. Lance Stroll retired on lap 9. And the thing is with this ass shit fartin is that when you say Lance Stroll retired, now I don't even know if it's a problem with Lance Stroll or if it's a problem with the car. The car is that bad. Fernando Alonso retired on lap 32. And then here, the race kind of became a stinker afterwards. Well, it wasn't really a stinker. Let me explain. So, I think what the Mercedes have figured out, and I could be totally wrong in this, but what I think the Mercedes have figured out is that they can just basically sit and let the Ferraris fight. And then while they're doing that, they can like reharvest the energy, like they can super clip or whatever Formula One is trying to call it right now. And then they can just overtake the Ferraris while they're fighting, which is what they were doing. Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton had an excellent battle on track. Leclerc went on the radio and said, "That is fun." And I think he responded, like his engineer responded with something like, "I'm glad," or something like that. So take that as you will. So shortly after, during this battle at the front, we had an excellent battle for P6 between the Alpine of Pierre Gasly, Liam Lawson, Ollie Behrman, and Max Verstappen. And this battle was immediately put to rest because Max Verstappen DNF'd. He retired. Max Verstappen began to slow down, and then he took the car into the pit lane, and then he retired. And do you know why he retired? It's because he was driving a Ford.
I know what's wrong with it. It's a Ford.
So, with Maxi Pad Verstappen retiring, that brought everybody up by one position. I know that's a Will Buxton statement, but hear me out, all right? Because rounding out the 9th and 10th, we have Carlos Sainz in the Williams scoring 2 points and living proof that the Falkland Islands should belong and always belong to the British, Franco Colapinto, in 10th. Driving that absolute pig of an Alpine. But the thing that intrigues me more about the top 10 is the top 5, because the race winner was pole sitter Kimi Antonelli. Hashtag not my Kimi, by the way. I'll get in a rant to that in a minute. Followed by Osama bin Russell, Lewis Hamilton, Charles Leclerc, and Oliver Behrman in the Haas. This is like the second generational drive that Behrman has put in. And I believe that Red Bull is P5 in the constructors' standings. And yeah, Red Bull is P5 in the constructors' standings with 12 points, tied with Racing Bulls, the sister team, with 12 points. And Haas is 5 points ahead of them with 17 in fourth. And McLaren is in third place with 18 points, only 1 point ahead of Haas. And then you have Ferrari with 67 points, 67 in second place. And in first place, you have the Mercedes with 98 points. But before we go to the Zachary Brown broadcast 2026 Formula One season predictions bingo card, I almost forgot the name of it. I almost did, but I remembered it. We have to talk about Taleb Antonelli, because Taleb Antonelli secured his first win in Formula One. He got his first pole position, and he got his first win. And I'm not happy. The reason I'm not happy is because I don't like the kid. And it's not because he punted Charles Leclerc at Zandvoort, although he should have been fucking punished more for that. But rather, it's how he went about the season last year. And what I mean by that is, if you open up any interview from like the early season, he basically begins every interview by going, "Oh, I'm in Formula One. I still need to do my homework. I need to pass school." Stop being such a nerd, okay? You're in Formula One. You're getting paid like a gajillion dollars a year. You're signed with Mercedes, which is currently leading the Constructors' Championship right now. You're signed with a top team. You can get any woman you want. Shut up about your schoolwork, okay? Just pass it all on to somebody. Matter of fact, fucking drop out. Stop being a fucking nerd and race, okay? Hashtag not my Kimi. Kimi Räikkönen never would have pulled this shit, okay? And that's my other gripe. And I know this is not Taleb Antonelli's fault, but during the podium ceremony, he got introduced as Kimi Räikkönen and not Kimi Antonelli. And that struck a chord with me, because I think Kimi Räikkönen's my GOAT, all right? We don't use his name in vain in this household. So that was not cool. Anyway, to the Zachary Brown broadcast 2026 Formula One season bingo card. Let's look at what we have here. We did have a double DNF, or technically a double DNS, but that's basically the same thing. But, however, on the bingo card, it's for Audi, so we cannot cross it off. Mercedes not as dominant as we thought. I don't think I'm ever going to be able to cross that off. Mercedes finishes first. That we may cross that. It's too early to tell. Maxi Pad Verstappen leaves Formula One. So we got to talk about this. So it is official. Max Verstappen will be driving a Mercedes in the 24 hours of the Nürburgring. And everybody was going, "Oh yeah, what's the big deal?" The big deal is that Maxi Pad Verstappen has always wanted to drive the Nürburgring, and he's been saying that the new cars are shit, and the regs are shit, and the tires are shit. He's been saying that everything about Formula One is shit. And so, it's not a surprise that he's racing in the 24 hours of the Nürburgring. What is a surprise is that before you race in the 24 hours of the Nürburgring, you have to basically do like a little support race, basically proving that, hey, I can race around this track for 24 hours. Because the Nürburgring is not an easy track. And I say that, and that like the no shit alarm is going off right now. But the big news here is that conflicted with a Formula One weekend. But the organizers, which I believe is Intercontinental GT, they have moved that support race up a week, allowing Verstappen to race that Formula One weekend without complication. So now there's a bunch of, obviously this is just hearsay and that nothing has been official yet, but there's a lot of stuff saying that, hey, they're doing all this stuff because Max Verstappen is in talks with them to move over to switch series. And I wouldn't be surprised if he switches series. Like I said, I have it on my bingo card. Maxi Pad Verstappen leads Formula One. No innovations have been banned yet. We're back to the bingo card, by the way. Fernando Alonso top 5 finish. No, haven't been there yet. Fernando Alonso radio crash out. No, not yet. F1 graphics don't help. All right, some people find this helpful and some don't. I'm gonna cross it off because I don't find it helpful. But on the little graphic that they show on the onboard, like by the halo, they've introduced 2 new things. They've introduced like a battery deploy, and then actually, do you know what? No, fuck that. I'm not gonna talk about that. Do you know what I am gonna talk about? Is the active arrow signaling, or the visuals for the active arrow, because they have on the halo the active arrow, like on that telemetry screen they have the active arrow, and it's literally 3 lines. And when it's closed, those 3 lines are like diagonal. And then when it's open, those 3 lines are horizontal, like a fucking options menu on a website. That, I'm going to put that as F1 graphics don't help. Because who the fuck needs that? So I'm going to mark that off on our bingo card here. Can't do that yet. Can't do that yet. Can't do that yet. We'll wait. We'll wait. To cross out Verstappen will not be a World Drivers' Championship contender. We'll wait because if you were to ask me at the beginning of last year if he would be, I would say no. But obviously last year happened and he was 2 points of winning it, and so yeah, there we go. So the only cross that, or the only square that we've crossed off is F1 graphics don't help. Moving on to the NTT IndyCar Series. I believe, let me pull up the predictions I had here. Yes. So, they just raced in Arlington. Note the thumbnail I had. I made this before I even recorded the first broadcast. The one that was, I've had this sitting in my bank for a while, the what the hell's the NTT? Because when that was announced, that race, that was literally the first thought that came to mind. That what the hell is a polar bear doing in Arlington, Texas meme. And so I immediately changed it and put like a really shittily imposed picture that I took of Scott Dixon's PNC Bank number 9 Honda Chip Ganassi and put that on there. Let me move the mic because this is quiet. How's this? All right, that's much better. So yeah, that thumbnail's been sitting for a while. I was gonna do something with the Middle East, and then I remembered I had that thumbnail sitting there. But yeah, we gotta talk about qualifying here. All right, because in my predictions, I predicted that Marcus Ericsson would return to victory lane, and that has not happened yet. However, he did get pole position. He got pole position, baby. Let's go. My boy Marcus Ericsson got pole position for this race. And he held on to it for quite a while until the first round of pit stops. And Andretti absolutely fucked it. And it wasn't just with Ericsson either. They messed up Kyle Kirkwood's pit stop. They messed up Will Power's pit stop. That crew, I don't know what they were doing. Because unlike Formula One, IndyCar has different crews for each car. So all 3 of those crews were on something that day. And not something good. because if they're on something good, the pit stop wouldn't have taken 10 fucking seconds. So Marcus Ericsson finished fourth behind Will Power. He finished on the podium. This is his first podium for Andretti Global, hopefully not the last. Kyle Kirkwood took the win from Alex Palou in the closing laps of the race. And other than that, the race was kind of a stinker. Nothing happened. Christian Rasmussen had a incident towards the end. But he just went off course. And so they brought the car out, and then that's when I think it was after that was when Kirkwood passed Palou. And then right at the end on the 68th lap, lap 68 of 70, Nolan Siegel decided to touch Romain Grosjean inappropriately, and that brought out the caution, and the race ended. But yeah, I'm conflicted on this race. The drivers really like the track, but I don't think I'm the only person who thinks this. Like looking online, like on the forums and stuff, other people I've seen have shared my sentiment about it, or my sentiment around it. And first off, I want to say that I am happy that IndyCar is branching out. I think I saw a stat today, and this is the most watched IndyCar season since 2008, since since they merged, because they were split for a while, and that's really good. And this was one of the most watched IndyCar races since 2008, which is also really good, barring the 500, of course. But on the other hand, like I said, it was kind of a stinker. We didn't really have any cautions or wrecks until the very end of the race, until lap 68 of 70. And so that's like the big fat like stinker there. And like I said, IndyCar is growing, and I think they're starting to see like the same problem that Formula One is that they want to expand and they want to increase their market, but they have to decide between traditional racetracks such as Phoenix or Road America or Laguna Seca. They're not gonna remove Road America or Laguna Seca as far as I know. But like when it comes to like racing at new locations, like tracks that have been added to the calendar, I believe Phoenix is the only one. No, Phoenix is the only track that is a permanent track of the 4 tracks added to the calendar. Obviously Arlington, and then we have a street race in Markham, Canada, and then the Freedom 250, which is probably going to suck ass if it even takes place. I've already ranted enough about the Freedom 250, about that track design, so I won't. Markham looks fine. I just hope it's a good race. And I'm not saying that all street circuits produce bad racing. I like watching Long Beach, and I like watching. I don't really like watching Detroit, but there are good street races on the calendar in IndyCar. But I feel that Arlington was not one of them. And there's obviously the big fat appeal of like racing around, like the Dallas Cowboys, like their stadium and stuff. But like on the other hand, I feel it would be much cheap. It's almost the same argument that I can make for the Freedom 250, except the Arlington Grand Prix like actually had spots where you could pass. But the like it's like I said, I almost feel it would be cheaper for them to just return to a track such as like Texas Motor Speedway or Circuit of the Americas. Because like I said, it's not an easy endeavor to build a street track. Anyway, on to my predicted drivers and how they're doing. Obviously, like I said, Will Power, he got his podium, not a win yet, but he's one step closer. It's better than DNFing. Marcus Ericsson did not get a win yet, but he did go to he did get pole position, and he did lead from pole position for quite a bit, and he also finished P4. So all Andretti cars finished in the top 5. Alexander Rossi did not outperform Christian Lundgaard this race. Santino Ferrucci, where did he finish? I believe he finished... Yeah, he was rather disappointing. He finished 17th, but then again, he's never been good on the street courses. I don't expect him to be good at Long Beach either. So we'll see. We'll see. If we look at the drivers' standings, currently Kyle Kirkwood leads this is the third time that the championship has changed hands this season. Obviously, Palou was leading it going into the season with his win at St. Pete, and then Newgarden won at Phoenix, and then Kyle Kirkwood won in Arlington. So Kyle Kirkwood leads Alex Palou by 100 or by 126 points. Palou has 100, so he's leading Palou by 26 points. Palou is ahead of Newgarden by 7 points, and Newgarden is tied with Pato at the same. Marcus Ericsson is in the top 8. He is currently 8th with 77 points, and Will Power is 12th. Alexander Rossi is 64th, while Christian Rasmussen has 33 points. So Rossi, he hasn't. I do believe a big part of that was the collision in Phoenix for Rasmussen. I switch between Rasmussen and Rasmussen all the time. I call him Rasmussen because he's a terrorist on the track. I believe had he not had that collision with Will Power at Phoenix, he would be higher in the standings than his teammate Alexander Rossi. But Alexander Rossi is in the top 10, while Christian Rasmussen is 22nd. So that does speak volumes. More IndyCar news. Because Colton Herta was there in the paddock for the Arlington Grand Prix. And this leads to the big question. Why is Colton Herta there in the paddock at Arlington Grand Prix? Dare I say, what the hell is Colton Herta doing in Arlington, Texas? I'm so sorry. I'm going to milk that joke till it's very dry. And there is a lot of rumors because right now it's like the time, and I am gonna get into it later. Where Indy 500 drivers are announced. And what I mean by Indy 500 drivers is that most of the time in an IndyCar race, you have 25, 23, 27 cars, depending. It depends, but usually you have around that many cars start a race. The Indy 500, you have 33. And so what I mean by an Indy 500 driver is, for example, Helio Castroneves, who it was just announced that he will be returning to drive the... is it the number 47? No. Takuma Sato is driving the 47 in for Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing. Helio Castroneves will be driving the number 6 for Meyer Shank Racing in the Indy 500. He is chasing a record-breaking 5th title. If he gets that 5th title, he will lead all-time Indy 500 wins. Currently, he's tied in 4th with Rick Mears, AJ Foyt, and Al Unser Sr. And so those were the 2 drivers that were announced, Takuma Sato and Helio Castroneves. And there were some people online saying, oh my god, Takuma Sato, he's so old. Why is he taking a seat? Helio Castroneves. There wasn't much for Helio Castroneves because, like I said, he is chasing his 5th. And the IndyCar socials and everybody else made it very clear he is chasing his 5th. But a lot of people see Takuma Sato as an old man. And one of the things that I saw was that he should have, he shouldn't be racing, basically. He should allow that seat to go to a younger kid to let them race in the 500. And this is what I have to say about it. Last year, The man is old. I will give you that. In late January, he celebrated his 49th birthday, and 49 is ancient for a racing driver. However, let me put this out there. He qualified on the front row for the Indy 500 last year in 2025, and led the most laps out of any driver. Takuma Sato led 51 laps. That is more than a quarter of the race. So the mere thought that this man chasing his... By the way, he is no, like... He's won the 500 twice. He's going for a third title here. And so the mere thought of him being, like, too old or too... Like, he shouldn't drive. He should be give that. That's horseshit. And I will say that here. That is horseshit. Because he is an incredible driver at the 500. It is so paradoxical. There is no way, or almost no way, that he should be this good, and yet he is. And honestly, he provides really entertaining racing. He's a flat-out driver. What's his saying? Okay, yeah, I just remembered. No attack, no chance. All right? That should tell you the caliber of driver that Takuma Sato is when he is in the cockpit of an Indy car. This guy is insanely entertaining to watch. This will be a shorter broadcast because I've got some stuff I need to get done. But I have breached the 30-minute mark. I will cover the 12 hours of Sebring because that is coming up soon. Always respect the bumps. Respect the bumps at Sebring. That is my closing knowledge. Oh, and real quick, I will make a plea. I will put a poll at the end of this. It should pop up right about now. But I want to make a funny joke because I currently have the entire front end of the truck taken apart. And I want to make a funny joke about, like, changing the battery and how Grok told me how, like, I asked Grok on Twitter if taking the entire front off would give me, like, a gajillion horsepower, and it says yes. So let me know if you think something like that would be funny if I, like, did a little skit with the entire front end of the truck taken off, because I'm an opportunist, and that is an opportunity there. If it's not funny, vote no. If it is funny, vote yes. If you want more questions, leave a comment on the thing, because you can do that. You can leave comments on the Zachary Brown broadcast. There was no bitching box today, no Tifosi zone today. Sorry about that. But yeah, that is the end of this broadcast. What fucking episode is it? Is it episode 11? I believe it's episode 11. Yes, it is episode 11. So yeah, we have made it officially 11 episodes into the Zachary Brown broadcast. So, like I said before, thank you guys for watching. I'll be back with another one probably in a week. Unless something happens, then I'll drop an emergency broadcast. And, you know the drill. Vote on that poll. Vote on that poll.